Hey guys, it's Sasha. Last week, Tesla announced their Q3 results and they were incredible. The very next day, the stock went up 22% in one day. That's about $150 billion worth in market cap. That's one of the biggest daily increases in company value in stock market history. And everyone is talking about the robotaxi, the Optimus robots, the gross margins which went up, but I actually don't think any of those things are that interesting from an investing perspective. And I know, I'm so sorry, how dare I, but I do want to tell you what I did find interesting in the Tesla results, and I want to share why my Tesla valuation just went up from $600 to $640. So first up, Tesla's revenue in Q3 was $25.2 billion, and it was a little short of setting a new record. And the main reason that it was lower than in Q2 was because energy generation and storage only brought in $2.4 billion, and in Q2 it raked in over $3 billion. The energy storage business is quite lumpy at the moment because there are only a small number of projects and each project is a huge big pile of money. This is the Tesla Megapack business, those huge battery storage setups that can store energy generated during low use periods and then release it for peak time usage. The difference between a few projects per quarter, one quarter being slightly higher than another, makes quite a big difference to the total overall energy storage revenue. And all the numbers on the energy side of the business are phenomenal. The gross margin on energy in the last quarter was 30.5%. 2 years ago in Q3 2022, Tesla made its very first gross profit on energy. Before that, they were losing money. So in 2 years, energy has gone from not making any money at all for Tesla to now making 14% of Tesla's total gross profit. Gross margins on cars have also improved. Elon Musk said that Tesla's cost to manufacture each car has now dropped to an average of $35,100, the lowest ever level for Tesla. Earlier this year, the Model 3 was updated across the US and Shanghai factories, and all the reviews were focused on a few styling changes here and there. But the data suggests that the big updates were the invisible ones, the ones where Tesla combined parts, deleted parts, simplified the manufacturing process, and so on and so on. And this quarter, the total gross margin was 19.8%, which surprised a few analysts. One huge advantage that Tesla has over other car manufacturers is that they continuously upgrade their cars. When they figure out how to make something better, something cheaper, combine things, simplify things, they go and do exactly that. When you buy another car, a different model, you will get a model year. So all model year 2025 cars by a typical manufacturer will be identical, no matter when you bought them. The one you buy in March will be exactly the same as the one that you could have bought in November. And the only changes that do happen when the next model year is released, or sometimes several years when the big refresh happens. This means there is a very, very long feedback loop. You make some changes, then you have to wait a whole year or a few years before you can make the next load of changes and then see how that transpires. Tesla makes manufacturing adjustments all the time. This is very unusual in the industry. So when you buy a car in November, it might be a little bit different to the same car that you could have bought in October. A few parts might be slightly different. And that October car might have a few slightly different parts to the car made in September. This is very complex for the manufacturer because you have to keep track of all of this stuff. Repairing these cars can be slightly different, and you have to know exactly what changes when for all these different models. But it's amazing for innovation and for speed of improvement because you can just keep iterating and improving things over and over, which is what Tesla is doing. Look at this slide from the earnings call. In the United States, refresh Model 3 ramp continued successfully in Q3 with higher total production and lower cost of goods sold quarter over quarter. Cybertruck production increased sequentially and achieved a positive gross margin for the first time. Then in China, cost of goods sold per vehicle at the Shanghai factory improved sequentially to its lowest level ever. And in Berlin, cost of goods sold per vehicle improved sequentially at Gigafactory Berlin-Brandenburg. I think you can tell from this that Tesla is pretty obsessed with removing cost from the manufacturing process. Each one of those paragraphs focuses on the cost. And Tesla has also just announced the Juniper Model Y refresh. This is a major update, and I have a funny feeling that it might also bring in a few more improvements in design from a cost perspective. Tesla is the only car manufacturer in the world that makes electric cars profitably. And this is insane because not only are they making them profitably, but they are making them with insane gross margins. In the most recent quarter, if you ignore the regulatory credits and just look at the automotive sales, Tesla had a 16.4% gross margin just on selling cars. And if you look further down the profit and loss statement, the number that sticks out here is this one, $622 million in restructuring in Q2 of this year, and another $55 million in Q3. So earlier this year, there was a leaked email from Elon saying that Tesla is going to cut 10% of their staff because of automation and to remove job duplication and all of that. Well, it looks like this has now happened, and coincidentally, a few executives departed at the same time, and the result is that the total operating expenses have dipped by 10% compared to before the layoffs. Maybe the most important reveal in this presentation in Q3 is on slide 10, in this last bit called product. Plans for new vehicles, including more affordable models, remain on track for start of production in the first half of 2025. These vehicles will utilize aspects of the next generation platform, as well as aspects of our current platforms, and will be able to be produced on the same manufacturing lines as our current vehicle lineup. This approach will result in achieving less cost reduction than previously expected, but enables us to prudently grow our vehicle volumes in a more capex efficient manner during uncertain times. So for a while now, everybody has been anticipating a compact model from Tesla, and Tesla has previously said that they plan to release one in 2025. And this paragraph in the presentation basically says, well, this new model is not going to be a fully fledged separate new model. It's going to be a Model 3 variant. They're saying it will use aspects of the current platforms and it will be produced on the same manufacturing lines as our current vehicle lineup. So by the sounds of it, this will be a third model using that same platform as the Model 3 and the Model Y. And that should make the ramp faster. But I can't help but feel that not having a small compact car is a big miss for European and Asian markets in the longer term. Elon Musk has been saying that there isn't a need for a compact car, because Tesla is working on the robotaxi. And in the future, nobody will need a car of their own. You just take the robotaxi wherever you go. And you know what? For really busy cities like San Francisco and New York, for some people in those cities who just need to get from point A to point B, that's probably extremely useful. 100% agree. But I think Tesla is suffering from the traditional tech bro problem of being really detached from the reality of how many normal people live. If you have kids, for example, using a taxi is a pain in the backside. You have to figure out child seats in the car. If you have more than one child, there's probably not going to be more than one child seat, so that means you probably can't even use most regular taxis. You certainly can't use the two-person taxi. And if you have young children, you need to carry around a whole load of stuff when you travel. There's travel cots, there's nappies, there's creams, special food, and tools to make food, and so on and so on and so on. And all of that stuff lives in the car when you travel. You stop somewhere for a few hours, to go see something, do something, you leave all of that stuff in a car. What are you going to do with a robotaxi? Do you have to pay for the robotaxi to wait for you all day? Or do you have to get all of your stuff out, all the bags, everything, carry it around the shop or the beach or the whatever, and then go and load it into the next robotaxi? People also keep their waterproof jackets, their umbrellas, maybe a change of clothes in the car. What happens when you have a dog that you travel with? Sometimes you need to take something back to the shop, for example, so you stick it in the car on a, Sunday when you're at home and you remember, so that you can then drop it off on Wednesday afternoon when you have some free time. Sometimes you need to lug around something heavy, something that maybe will scratch the car a bit, but you don't care. There are a million reasons why people own cars, why people choose to own cars instead of using taxis. It's not just about the cost. In fact, in many cases, it is not at all about the cost. It is the opposite. People choose to incur the cost of owning a car because of the benefits that they get from it. It's all about the convenience. And at the recent We Robot event, Elon announced that the robotaxi is going to arrive by 2027. Now, as an investor, I actually am not particularly excited because I have a feeling it'll take a lot longer to arrive. The timescales probably are going to be stretched, as they always are. It needs FSD to be perfect, like no human involvement pretty much ever, and to get all the necessary regulatory approvals. This is going to take time. The same goes for that self-driving bus that they revealed. I mean, I genuinely don't really share the excitement. I am very excited by FSD as a technology. And you know, when FSD is good enough, you won't need a driver. Great, the bus won't need a driver. Every bus is going to be equipped with FSD. Phenomenal. But electric buses, aside from FSD, are already pretty common, right? They are everywhere in the UK, for example. I don't really understand why everybody got really excited by the form factor. I mean, cool, it's a futuristic version of an electric bus, but inside is just 20 seats that people can sit on. The exciting bit for me is the fact that FSD is now improving at a relatively fast rate. In version 12, Tesla moved the whole FSD to a neural net architecture instead of using manually coded rules. They combined several different stacks that work slightly differently together, and the difference between version 11 and version 12 was massive. Tesla has also said that they soon will start shipping version 13, which, according to Elon Musk, will increase the number of miles between critical disengagements by 5 to 6 times compared to version 12. Tesla installed 29,000 H100 graphics cards in Texas, and by the end of October, that number is going to be 50,000. Each of those cards is order of magnitude $40,000. So that's about $2 billion of AI training compute that Tesla has just installed and is currently installing. So we haven't seen the benefit of that in FSD yet. You can see in the cash flow statement that in Q3, Tesla spent a record $3.5 billion on capital expenditures this quarter. A lot of that is going into those graphics cards, and that number will probably also be high in Q4 for the same reason. But this is seriously exciting because as an investor, this is where Tesla has the unique winning edge. There is no other company in the world that is even remotely close to this kind of tech. Tesla collects data from the millions of cars that they have on the road to train this self-driving model. Other solutions like Waymo operate by pre-mapping a small area in high definition and then relying on manually coded rules within that area and knowing exactly where everything should be based on those detailed maps. Plus, there have recently been a few data leaks which suggest that maybe those companies are not quite as autonomous as they would like you to believe. Maybe some of them use remote drivers to drive those self-cars, or at the very least supervise them very actively, a whole lot more than they are willing to admit. Now, I am a long-term investor in Tesla, and I think we are watching the windows for cars being built right in front of us. Elon is adamant that FSD is going to become safer than the average human in the next few months. I don't know what the actual timelines are going to be, but at some point I think it is coming, and then it will become 2 times safer, and at some point it'll become 10 times safer. And when that happens, every single car manufacturer in the world is going to form an orderly queue to license FSD from Tesla, just like what happened with their charging setup. When you go and buy a car in 10 years' time, it will run self-driving software, and that software is probably going to come as some kind of a subscription service or a hefty upfront sticker price, whatever. And there will be manual cars that you can drive yourself, you know, with a steering wheel and all that for the enthusiasts, just like you can still ride horses today if you want to. But you don't go and ride your horse every day to work because it doesn't make any sense. And the same will happen with cars. In my updated Tesla valuation model, I have some pretty modest assumptions on FSD. Here, the assumption is that in 10 years' time, only 2 million cars in total that are not Teslas are subscribed to FSD. Because it will take quite a few years for FSD to first get good enough, then it will take some time for regulation, etc. And then it will take time for other car manufacturers to start installing the cameras and the hardware into their models so that they can actually use FSD. And in that valuation model, FSD is only 20% of Tesla's total gross profit in 10 years' time. But if FSD arrives sooner, and if those other car manufacturers start switching sooner, you know, actually trying to not go bankrupt, FSD can become an absolutely insane cash generator for Tesla. And if you zoom out, the amount of money Tesla is currently investing in their business is crazy. They are building the Tesla semi-factory in Nevada next to the battery factory. That should be ready later on next year. Tesla is also building the lithium refinery plant on the Gulf Coast so that they can build more batteries. Tesla is also building a brand new mega Megapack factory in Shanghai, as well as scaling the first Megapack factory in California. And a few days ago, Tesla got the final approval to expand the Berlin factory by adding new storage facilities, a battery cell test lab, and logistics areas. Tesla added $3 billion to their cash pile in the last quarter. That cash pile now sits at $33.6 billion. The net cash provided by operating activities in the last quarter was at $6.3 billion. These numbers are already good. And the thing is, my assumptions in my model are not even that exciting. I have 7.9 million cars made in 2033. Not some kind of crazy numbers. I don't have any robotaxi stuff in here yet. I don't have any Optimus in here because of the timelines. The energy storage business in my model increases by a factor of 10 in the next 10 years, and it's very, very early. That's a cumulative rate of 25% per year in growth. I guess you could say that's ambitious. I think that based on the data that we have now, I'd say it's somewhat reasonable. And even though I don't have any nutty, crazy projections, my Tesla target price at the moment is $640. But the next few quarters are going to be very, very important in seeing how slow or fast FSD progress becomes after this huge investment that Tesla made last quarter and this quarter in AI training. If you want to learn how to build valuation models, how to analyze financial statements, I just launched a course called the Investor Playbook. It already has over 12 hours of video content, and I'm adding new lessons to the course all the time. You will also get access to live sessions every week where I go through topics in more depth. The link to my course in the description if you want to check it out. Please do check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.